abundance of caution, we would follow the bylaws as being considered by this body. In terms of posting abundance of caution, we would follow the bylaws as being considered by this body. In terms of posting requirements and advance notice to the public.
All right. Any other questions, discussions on the consortium establishment process? If not, item C, discussion of work plan and governance priorities.
Mr. Chair, one of the things discussed at your previous meeting was the identification of governance priorities to achieve within a 6-month time period, one of which is the adoption of bylaws as well as goals and objectives. And hearing some feedback this morning will certainly help me to prepare an additional draft. There was also discussion about staff preparing a drafted work plan for your consideration, things such as a website to further aid in your communication with the public, information for potential consortium members. Today, while we do not have a work plan for your consideration, I wanted to provide that update to the body as well as provide feedback from members of things that should be considered as staff works to prepare that for your consideration at the next meeting.
Do we have a budget for this?
There is currently, Mr. Chair, no budget. And that is one thing that we definitely need to be thinking about. Perhaps there are strategic partnerships that can be formed to aid in website hosting, perhaps at a state agency or another place temporarily, and for members of the public as well. We have a page under the Secretary of Commerce and Trade's website for the posting of public meetings, minutes, agendas, and so forth. That is one item that has crossed my mind that needs to be considered as we move forward.
Yeah, I think that the exploration of how to develop a budget should be clearly on the work plan. Any other questions or issues or thoughts on work plan and governance priorities? Again, I think that ask everyone to give some thought and communicate with generic ideas and issues that we want to make sure are included in those documents, so we know what we're looking to do. Discussion of future meeting dates. The bylaws that we tabled proposed 4 meetings annually. We already discussed that a little bit. My own view is, for the moment, given we're trying to launch, we have a lot to do, we have the consortium and so forth, that it would be a good objective for us to set 4 meetings in this entire meeting. I'm certainly open to everyone's comments. I think the good news is we can kind of know when they are now. For me, that's a huge help to be able to plan so we can all get here. So without, unless there's objection or discussion, let's propose that we adopt those 4 meeting dates, let the public know, and so forth.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing that might come into this is that the nuclear industry participates in a major meeting with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission every year in March, and I believe it's the week of March 10th. That's the Regulatory Information Conference. So all of us that work in the nuclear power industry will not be able to miss the Regulatory Information Conference. Tonight, if we could confirm that this morning and get back to you so that we could shift it around that meeting, I think that would be important if you would arrange.
That is a very valid point. That is the place to be during that week. Everybody and a whole lot more. So, Chair, if you could just check that and maybe adjust this a week either way, that would work.
Just that. 17.
It is the 17th.
Suggesting our date was the 17th. Let's tentatively move it to the 17th and then work from there. The other thing we want to look at is I guess that's May. Maybe my meeting is May, so I'm not worried about that. Okay. All right.
All of them will highlight the Regulatory Information Conference scheduled March 11th.
March 11th. So I think we're better off on the 17th if that works for everybody. Thank you. Okay. That's a good change. All right. Other business. transition activities. At some point, I think it's going to be important for the authority to be meeting with, communicating with the governor-elect to make sure that they understand what we're doing, who we are, to establish a means of communication, relationship, and also replacement, unfortunately, for genera, or however that's going to proceed. It's going to be very important for the activities. I actually was with the governor a few weeks ago and mentioned the importance of this organization. And I think, I think he's going to be fine with that, but I think we need to get into the practical side of how that's going to work. So, I don't know if I can take it upon myself to try and reach out and, have some connections into the transition activities, and they're going to be very busy with a lot of things. But I just think planning for this is important right now. We need to get, we need to speak up for ourselves to make sure that we don't get lost in the administration program activities. So if the board's comfortable, we can initiate that. Genera, let you know I coordinate how, because you'll be on the staff side, and I'll work it from the same. Secondly, I'd like to ask if we could get a roster of everybody on the board, contact information, and so forth. And also, if you're going to put together some sort of electronic, I don't know, guys, so I'm not good at this stuff, electronic distribution file or something, so we can communicate to everybody, and I suppose if everybody can have access to that, is that something that's okay that we run afoul of the open meeting laws? If I wanted to send a note out to everybody here electronically.
Error with regard to freedom of information law. That is one of the trainings that I'm working on scheduling for your next meeting. Is from the Office of the Attorney General. I'm happy to provide a meeting roster to the members and to the public. I would invite members to submit their preferred email and office phone number that can be posted. Generally, with regard to communication that comes from staff, we then go ahead and post that for the public's review. So I'm happy to aid in that.
So if any one of us wanted to communicate to the rest of us, I hear you saying this, we should go to you, it should come from you in the office as opposed to us doing that directly.
Exactly, and if it is, and as I would imagine, in relation to your work as an authority member, that would then be posted as part of the public record.
Okay, everybody got that one down?
If we could leave that till Mr. Chairman, this, would you also put a roster together for the special meeting, just one or two, so that we have access to that? I would assume that you want to see the rules required in the special meeting.
Yes, sir. So I would invite the authority members to contact me who wish to serve on the special committee. We'll then post that to the website, reflect that in the meeting, and begin to pull for availability for a meeting, hopefully the first week of January.
Yes.
The next item I had now is I'm sort of the view that it might be appropriate to have some committees. I think there are some important issues that may be worth some 3 or 4 member committees at the authority level that can then work with more directly, more constantly, usually with the consortium itself. So what I'd like to suggest is that everyone, again, take the interim up to the next meeting and think about that and submit to Genera her replacement what you think. Again, up to 20, obviously we're not going to do that, but I can see 3 or 4 committees that might be of interest and importance given the diverse makeup here of the board and the representation. I think we want to make sure that we're focusing on perhaps issues that might be important to industry or issues important to the academic community or others that we have the opportunity to talk about the subcommittee, the authority that kind of delve into those issues a little bit more. So that's something that I would say a couple of thoughts on that myself, so I understand other sort of operating, going forward ideas from folks. I have thoughts of getting some people in here to do some briefings for us, provide information, maybe a more generic sort of open public session once in a while. Here, I think do. I'm very much a supporter of hearing from the public, of transparency and openness. Part of what I think is a real critical mission for us is to make sure we are communicating and using what we have here to make sure the public is informed and educated about their policy and agenda. So I think I can see some ideas going forward where we can make more of that sort of notion. Jerry?
One observation, I don't have an answer for my own question, my own point, but I see the potentiality for a huge culture draw. Decisions in error for us. And given the fact that there are certain strictures you have to operate within under 40 other state legislation, a go-to person is critically Again, I don't have an answer for you, but I think to the extent that you're going to take the lead in terms of meeting with the transition team, new leadership, I would encourage you to put that pretty high on your list to get a firm commitment, a timely commitment, whether it's from the governor's office, whether it's from the Secretary of Commerce and Trade, wherever it comes from. That part bothers me, since we have to operate within certain tracks as is good public policy. We should operate. So I just offer that up. Thanks for putting it.
Duly noted, and I can assure you I'm going to fight for the best possible relationship, access, and understanding and commitment. At some point, I'd like to have the governor come by and talk to us for a few minutes and hear from us. So we can figure that out in the context of how we're making progress. And also, once the legislature gets underway, I want to make sure that we are communicating regularly with them and making sure that they know what we're about and that the expertise we have around this table and behind us that can help formulate policy, especially if any legislation of interest to this group comes along. Thanks, Tim. Other thoughts, ideas, comments? We're making very good time. I'm happy to, if there's anybody else in the public side who wants to say anything, I'll take the truth of the chair and say, take a minute or two if you want.
I believe he has a new business that he'd like to, or maybe it's old business.
It's all, last
That's
board
right.
meeting, we discussed about the possibility of organizing a workshop, international workshop. I didn't have it put together at the time. And in the meantime, myself and Shama, we completed it, flyer. And I would like this body to endorse this upcoming workshop.
Okay.
No, it doesn't say it on the top, and I had a chance to chat with, talking about this yesterday. This is a draft. I would note for the consortium, for the authorities, purposes that he is listed on the 2 committees as a member of this body. So those are the only items we need to.
So the question is, for us to become sort of the official sponsor, endorser?
Of course, yes, there's no financial commitment involved.
We have no budget.
It doesn't have our name on it.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion? It is moved second. Second. Discussion? Please not all in favor, please indicate. Aye.